What is going on, guys? Today I have a really fun and interesting deck profile for you guys today. So basically this deck is not your average Dragon Link deck, because the Dragon Link deck it uses the rockets as an engine, but it really doesn't use the rocket monsters effects at all except Rocket Tracer. It just uses them for names. So this deck is actually not as good as the Dragon Link deck, but it does focus more around using the actual rocket monsters and their archetype as well. The Boral monsters are part of this archetype, as well as Striker Dragon. So we're going to explore about what those monsters do and how they interact, and the fun you can have with this deck. And really, I don't think you really need much else aside from a few cards to build this deck. You just need the three of the Revolver deck and just a couple other cards to pick up, which aren't too expensive. So it's pretty budget as well. So without any further ado, let's get right into it. So to start, we played triple copies of Rocket Tracer, the rocket monster that all Dragon Link players know and love. This one pops a card on your side of the field and special summons a rocket monster from your deck and locks you into dark monsters from the extra deck. It's a great card. It's once per turn and just fantastic for making links and synchros as well. So yeah, definitely max out on this card. Then we play the one copy of Rocket Synchron. This card is basically a monster reborn for one of your level 5 or higher dark dragon monsters in your graveyard, and it's really amazing for going into high level synchro plays. So yeah, it's just a one card synchro if you have the proper monsters in your graveyard, so definitely play him. So the next monsters that I'm going to show are the munitions, as I like to call them, of the rocket archetype, and they all share very similar effects where if they are targeted by a link monster, they can destroy themselves on a quick effect and use an effect of their own. So in that way, it's like the Boral monsters, like the Boral link monsters, are all using these cards as ammunition, and they're really cool that way because each type of ammunition does something different. So that's what I'm going to explain to you right here. Oh, and before I go on, they also all share the effect where if they are destroyed by a card effect, which that includes their own, they can special summon a rocket monster from the deck. So you don't lose value on these cards either. They replace themselves during the end phase. So we play 3 copies of the standard ammunition Magna Rocket Dragon. So this one, when it's targeted by a link monster effect, it can destroy itself and send a monster your opponent controls to the graveyard. So it's non-targeting, non-destruction. Great removal right here. We play 2 copies of Metal Rocket Dragon. So this one is like your piercing shell. So what you do is you summon this monster in a zone where your opponent has monsters, and when it gets targeted by a link monster, it destroys itself and also destroys all of your opponent's monsters in the same column. So if you can get this into a column that has the extra monster zone in it, and your opponent has an extra monster zone monster and monster underneath that monster, you can blow up both of them. So that doesn't come up super often, but it definitely can. So keep that in mind. We play 2 copies of Auto Rocket Dragon. This card is your back row removal, and it is similar to Magna Rocket Dragon, but for spells and traps, because when it gets targeted by a link monster's effect, it blows itself up and sends a spell trap card on your opponent's side of the field to the graveyard. So once again, non-targeting and non-destruction. So then we play 2 copies of the Silver Rocket Dragon, and aside from being the best beater in this deck with 1900 attack, it can also, when it gets targeted by a link monster's effect, it blows itself up and banishes 1 monster from your opponent's extra deck. So in that way, it's like a silver bullet because it just counters something in your opponent's extra deck. So I thought that was pretty neat theme tied in with the actual card itself. So then we play 1 copy of Shell Rocket Dragon, which is like your AoE shell of the deck. So when this one gets targeted by a link monster's effect, it blows itself up and blows up a card in the same column that it was in on your opponent's side of the field, as well as all the adjacent monsters to the card that was destroyed. So if you get the zone underneath one of the link zones, or the extra monster zones as they're called, you can actually, if you destroy a monster there, you can actually destroy up to 4 cards with this card, because you get that one, and then if there's 3 adjacent monsters to that monster, then you just can blow all of them up. So this one's really fun when that happens, but I can't say could ever remember the last time that happened, but it definitely can. So then we have one Rokket Dragon. So this one is like your Tranquilizer Dart, which when it gets targeted by a Link monster effect, it blows itself up and is non-targeting. What it does is it negates a monster effect on your opponent's side of the field and makes that monster unable to attack. So this one can come in clutch sometimes. And we play 3 copies of Rider Dragon, so we're done with the munitions. Rider Dragon is just a great extender. It's a free special summon when you have a Rokket monster on the field, and when it gets sent to the graveyard, you can add a Rokket monster to your hand. So yeah, just gotta love this card in a Rokket deck, and no reason not to play 3 of it. And we play 3 copies of Noctovision. Noctovision's a really interesting card that came out of Eternity Code. So if a Dark Dragon monster is special summoned, you can special summon this card. So basically, when you special summon a monster in this deck, you special summon this card, and if it's used as link material and sent to the graveyard, you can draw 1 card. And both of these effects are once per turn, but yeah, this card's a nice extender and helps you keep your hand size. Also, it has the effect where if your opponent activates a card effect that targets a face down card you control. So usually this deck doesn't have face down cards except in its back row. You can negate those targeting effects. So if they target your back row, you can banish this card from your graveyard and negate that effect as well. So then we play 1 copy of Dad. This card, kind of a meme here, but also I just really like Dad, so I'm just playing it. This deck is not super competitive by any means, so Dad is just awesome, just reminiscent of the old times. And yeah, if you have 3 dark monsters in your graveyard, he's a free special summon, and you can just start popping stuff on your opponent's field. So yeah, definitely love him. So then we play 1 copy of Brotar and 1 copy of Levineer. So Brotar obviously searches Levineer, and I don't love doing that in this deck because you do have to discard 1 in order to do that. It's not a cost, by the way, it's actually part of the effect. So don't let your opponent make you like pay cost and discard 1 and then negate the effect. No, it's all 1 effect, so definitely don't fall for that. But also, Levineer is interesting because if you have a light monster in your graveyard, which this deck doesn't really run too many, it does have the 1 copy of the spheres in the extra deck, so you could banish light and dark monsters and pop 2 cards on your opponent's field, or just banish all dark monsters and do the standard rip a card out of your opponent's hand. But also it's good graveyard modulation. It modulates the amount of dark monsters you have in the grave if you need to summon Dark Arm Dragons. So yeah, that's why I play those 2, although they aren't superstars in this deck by any means. Then we play 3 copies of Ash. This card just is amazing. What can I say? It's just the best hand trap right now, in my opinion. So I'm playing it in pretty much every deck. Next we play, for the spells, 3 copies of Quick Launch. Quick Launch is just an amazing card. It's an amazing starter / extender. It special summons a Rokket monster from your deck, but it also cannot attack and it gets destroyed during the end phase. But usually that doesn't matter too much because you're just using this to get material onto the board. So Quick Launch, amazing superstar in this deck. We play 2 copies of Squib Draw, so this card basically just pops one of your Rokket monsters and draws you 2 cards. It's a nice little draw attack in this deck, and it's also a quick play spell card, so that comes up sometimes. And then we play the Dragon's Ravine. So Dragon's Ravine is your search target off of Dragoonity Knight Romulus, and it allows you to send one dragon monster from your deck to your graveyard. So it's always good to be able to Foolish Burial in this deck. And we played 2 copies of the Booty Sector Launch. You can special summon up to 2 Rokket monsters with different names from your hand in defense position, or it also has another effect that very rarely gets used because no one ever uses this effect in the Dragon Link strategy. If your opponent controls more monsters than you, you can summon Rokket monsters from your graveyard up to the difference. So it can definitely get you more monsters that way on your turns 2 and 3 and so on. But yeah, most people just use it to summon a Rokket monster from their hand, but it can definitely come up in the next turns after that as well. And you can only use one of those 2 effects once per turn. For our fusion spells, we play 1 copy of Rapid Trigger and 1 copy of Dragon's Mirror, so you could probably just play 1 copy or you could probably just play 2 copies of Dragon's Mirror, but Rapid Trigger is interesting because you can pop stuff on the field to special summon your Borreload Furious Dragon, and Dragon's Mirror is good because it modulates the number of dark monsters you have in the graveyard, so it makes it easier to summon Dark Arm Dragon. But yeah, these are just our fusion spells here. Lastly, to round off the deck, we played triple copies of Red Rain. There's probably a good chance that you've never seen this card before, so I'm going to read it. If you control a level 8 or higher synchro monster, banish all monsters on the field except the monsters with the highest level. Also, the remaining face-up monsters on the field are unaffected by other card effects except their own. If a Dark Dragon synchro monster is synchro summoned to your field while this card is in your graveyard, you can add this card to your hand, and you can only use this effect once per turn. So this deck does play Dark Dragon synchro monsters, and this card can really catch your opponent off guard, because if they don't have level 8 or higher monsters on the field and you activate this at the right time, you just banish their entire board. So, and it also leaves your Borreload Savage Dragon unaffected by card effects. So this card, not bad, honestly. Kind of niche, but it's definitely a really fun meme. Okay, to start for the Link monsters, we play Double Striker Dragon. So this one, super easy Link monster to make in this deck because it takes a level 4 or lower Dragon monster. If this card is Link Summon, you get to search Boot Sector Launch from your deck, and also it can target 1 face-up monster on the field and 1 Rocket monster in your graveyard. Destroy the targeted monster and add the Rocket monster to your hand. So this card, Link monster that targets stuff, as well as a way to recur your Rocket monsters in your graveyard. So yeah, Striker Dragon, awesome card. Then we play 1 LP and 1 Pisty. These cards are just super broken, honestly, and I really just wanted to play them because there's almost no reason not to. They're just so good, and if there's 2 Link arrows pointing to the same zone, they can special summon a monster. LP special summons from your deck or hand, and Pisty special summons from your graveyard or banished. So yeah, these cards are super nice to do combo plays with. Then we play 1 copy of Heraldic Seal of Heavenly Spheres. This card is a super nice disruption that takes 2 dragon monsters to make. So once per turn during your opponent's turn, if this card is in the extra monster zone, you can tribute 1 monster in your hand or field and return 1 face-up card on the field to the hand. And if this card is tributed, so if it attributes itself, you can special summon a dragon monster from your deck, but make its attack and defense 0. So you can go ahead and use this card's effect, bounce 1 on your opponent's field, special summon out the Rocket Tracer from your deck, and then you can use Rocket Tracer to go into another Rocket monster, and so on and so forth. This card is really good. Dragudinian Knight Romulus, it searches out your Dragon's Ravine when you summon it, and it takes 2 dragon monsters to make, so very easy for this deck to make, and you can make it before you use the Rocket Tracer effect, so it being wind attribute is not a problem at all. So yeah, definitely a key combo piece there. And to round it off for the Link 2s, we play the 1 Quad Burl and 1 Dilly Dilly Dragon. So Dilly Dilly is, these 2 work really well when you're doing your Guard Dragon combos, and what this one does is when you can discard 1, target a Link monster on the field, destroy that Link monster, and summon Rocket monsters from your graveyard up to the number of Link rating of the Link monster you destroyed. So you target the Dillinger's Dragon goes to the graveyard, and you summon 2 Rocket monsters from your graveyard, and also you can then re-special summon Dillinger's Dragon from your graveyard to because when this card's in the graveyard and Rocket monsters are special summoned to your field, this card can be special summoned from the graveyard but banish it when it leaves the field. So yeah, these cards definitely combo off really well together, and I'll show you that in the combo section. Then to round it off for the Link monsters, we play 1 Borreload, 1 Burl Sword, and 1 Unchained Abomination. So these cards, I mean, you probably already know what Burl Sword and Borreload do, but they are the archetype boss monsters for the Rocket strategy, and they're the ones that really shoot the ammunition Rocket monsters. So That's sort of the theme of this deck. Unchained Abomination also can target the rocket monsters, so they can use their effects that way. Unchained Abomination basically just pops tons of stuff. So yeah, I definitely like these 3 Link 4s. 1 copy of Beals, because this deck can make Beals pretty easily. It just makes level 8 synchro dark monsters very easily, so Beals is another strong one. It's very difficult for your opponent to out. Then we play 1 copy of the Borreload Savage Dragon. So this card is nuts. You see it all the time in other archetypes. Any archetype that can make level 8 synchros, you probably are going to see this card. And when it's synchro summon, you can equip a Link monster to it, add half of that Link monster's attack to this card's attack, also put Boral counters on it up to the number of Link material that monster that is equipped to it now. So if it was a Link 2, you put 2 Boral counters on this card. If it's Link 1, you put 1 Boral counter. You get the idea. And this card gets a once per turn negate for every single Boral counter on this card. So yeah, super just strong negation card that you like to make on your end board. 1 card that you probably haven't seen since Agripane was banned is Hot Red Dragon Archery and Abyss. So this card is a level 9 synchro, and to make this card you can use Rokket Synchron after you use one of like Borreload Savage or Beals. If these cards get dealt with and are in the graveyard, you can use your Rokket Synchron to revive one of them and go into the Hot Red Dragon Archery and Abyss, which is another Omni Negate and amazing card. And I really miss making this card with Agripane, but we can make it in this deck without it. Then to round it off, we play the 1 copy of Borreload Furious Dragon, which takes 2 Dark Dragon monsters to make, and on a quick effect, you can target 1 monster you control and 1 monster your opponent controls, destroy them both, and you can also banish this card from your graveyard to target 1 Dark Link monster in your graveyard, special summon it, but it can't use its effect this turn. So next turn, the effects will be live, but if you have those big Boral Link monsters in your graveyard, you can use this card to revive those, and this card's effects are once per turn. So, yep, that's going to round it off for the deck profile. So this combo, we're just going to use Noctivision Dragon and Magna Rocket Dragon, along with 3 blank cards in our hand. So to start, we'll start by normal summoning the Magna Rocket Dragon, linking it off into the Striker Dragon, using Striker Dragon's effect, followed by Noctivision's effect. So we'll special summon Noctivision Dragon, then use Striker Dragon's effect to search out the Boot Sector launch. Go ahead and add that to our hand. Go ahead and link these 2 off into the Dragoonity Knight, Romulus. Use Romulus's effect first, so Chain Link 1, Chain Link 2 will be Noctivision Dragon. You'll go ahead and draw 1 with Noctivision Dragon's effect, then Dragoonity Knight will search you out the Dragon Ravine from your deck. Now you can go ahead and activate your Dragon Ravine and discard 1 to send 1 dragon monster from your deck to your graveyard, and the one you're going to choose is Absorider Dragon. And when Absorider Dragon gets sent to the graveyard, you get to add a rocket monster to your hand, and the one you're going to choose is the Rocket Tracer. From here, you're going to go ahead and get rid of the Dragon Ravine by activating the Boot Sector launch, and then using Boot Sector launch to special summon the Rocket Tracer. Now, Boot Sector launch can summon you up to 2 rocket monsters using its effect, but we're just going to assume we only have the 1 in our hand. So we're going to use Rocket Tracer's effect, and also this should be in defense position. So we're going to use Rocket Tracer's effect to destroy the Boot Sector launch to summon out a level 4 rocket monster from our deck, and we can go ahead and link off the Rocket Tracer into the Guard Dragon LP, and link off the Metal Rocket Dragon into the Guard Dragon Pisty. Now from here we're going to use LP's effect, summon out another rocket monster. In this case, doesn't really matter too much. Shell Rocket Dragon should be fine, as long as it's rocket monster, because you need to have a rocket monster in order to summon Quad Boral Dragon. So now we're going to use Pisty's effect to bring back another Dark Dragon monster. So we can go ahead and link these 2 into the Delindras. Now, we can go ahead and use Quad Boral Dragon's effect to pop the Delindrous by discarding one. So just discard that one, pop, and then since it was a link 2, we can special summon 2 rocket monsters from our graveyard. So we're going to choose Rocket Tracer and a level 4. Now we can also special summon out the Delindrous Dragon because it was in the graveyard when these were special summoned. So from here, you can go ahead and link these into the Unchained Abomination, and then to finish off, we can link these into the Warlord Savage Dragon, equipping the Dragoonity Knight Romulus, and putting 2 Boral counters on the Warlord Savage Dragon. So here, this is a pretty decent end board. You have the negate from Savage Dragon, the popping effects from Unchained Abomination, and the quad Boral Dragon for your next turn. If it survives, it probably won't, it's pretty weak, but yeah, I mean, this board is pretty decent, I would say, and not bad for this deck. So next combo will be a little bit more of a stronger version of the same combo, so let me get right into that one. Okay, so this combo right here can be done with any rocket name and an Absorata Dragon. So to start this one off, you're going to normal summon out the Metal Rocket Dragon and use the Absorata Dragon's effect to special summon it. And then what you can do is you can link off the Metal Rocket Dragon to go into the Striker Dragon. Use Striker Dragon's effect to add a Boot Sector launch from your deck to your hand. And link off these 2 into the Hieratic Seal of Heavenly Spheres. Don't forget to use the Absorata Dragon's effect so you can add a Rocket Tracer from your deck to your hand. Go ahead and activate the Boot Sector launch. Use Boot Sector launch to special summon the Rocket Tracer. Rocket Tracer's effect to pop Boot Sector launch. Special summon out a level 4 rocket monster. Link this one off into the Elfie. Link this one off into the Pisty. Elfie's effect. Special summon a rocket monster from your deck. And then we can go ahead and link into Quad Boral. Pisty's effect. Special summon from grave. So we just need 2 Dark Dragon monsters to make the Delindrous Dragon. Quad Boral's effect to pop Delindrous. Special summon out 2. Also, we have to discard one from Quad Boral, so I'll put this one from our hand into the grave, and then special summon out Rocket Tracer along with another rocket monster, and then also don't forget to summon out the Delindrous as well. So that from here we can go ahead and link off these 2. The Delindrous gets banished because of its effect. Go into the Unchained Abomination, then link these 2 off into the Warlord Savage. Warlord Savage's effect to equip the Quad Boral Dragon to it. So now we have this is our end board for this combo. So we have, instead of the Romulus, we have the Heavenly Spheres, so we didn't need to use the Romulus at all in this combo, and Heavenly Spheres is much better to end on because it's actually another form of disruption that we have for our opponent. And also this card, when it uses its effect, it can tribute itself, and then bounce something on your opponent's field back to their hand, and then special summon out a rocket monster from your deck. So you can go ahead and special summon out like a Magna Rocket Dragon. And here's the interesting thing is if the Unchained Abomination is able to activate its effect, then you can actually pop your own Magna Rocket Dragon. So you're going to target the Magna Rocket Dragon, and then Magna Rocket Dragon's effect can trigger, and it can blow itself up. Send one of your opponent's monsters on the field to the graveyard, and at the end phase you can also use its effect to special summon out like a Rokket Tracer from your deck, and then you can use Rokket Tracer on your next turn, or I think in the end phase of your turn you can still use it, because this Rokket Tracer's effect is a quick effect. So you have a lot of options with this deck. There's a lot of fun little interactions you can do with the Rokket monsters. So yeah, that's going to be it for this combo. So yeah, that's it for the deck profile. I hope you guys enjoyed. This is definitely a more casual take on the Rokket strategy. When I get tired of playing the full Dragon Link deck, I just play this deck to have a little bit of fun. And if you also have 3 copies of the Revolver Structure deck, go ahead and try this deck out. It doesn't really take much else. And I hope you guys have a nice day. And with that, I'm just going to leave you with a peace out and a goodbye.